Okay, so I'm going to make a couple of audios today, a couple of things that was on my mind. So, real quickly, um, I want to advise some of the ladies, some of you know better, but I want to advise some of the ladies to not pay too much attention to those other, you have other black women YouTubers who are maybe not well known or that you never heard of, but you see titles and they are constantly talking about how nobody wants black women, or why don't men want black women? Why don't guys like us? Okay, I've seen those titles. Now, the content might not be the same as those titles, but I'm to the point where I don't even want to entertain those type of videos anymore, because here's why. Out of all the black women on this planet, not just black American women, but out of all the black women and black American women from the USA, not from Central America and South America, okay, but from the United States of America, and not even North America. Not, I mean, well, further north. Um, the reason why is because I don't see any other groups of black women with this level of insecurity throughout this planet like the black woman from the United States of America. And I believe it's because they have this sick obsession with black men, even though we know it was programming. At this point, I'm no longer even allowing that excuse, not for me anyway. Now, anybody else can keep making excuses for these women, but at this point in 2019, and it's about to be 2020, we're in the 6th month out, just about in June. It is time for these ladies to move on, regardless if the generations before them preach that black power stuff. What they got to understand is that this planet is in a completely new frequency. Okay, the energies from the previous generations were far more dense. It was more of a third dimensional ego based thinking. They could not really do any better than what they did because of the times they were in. But in 2019, there has been, I mean, I don't care what you believe in, you can feel that the energy has definitely changed even in the last 2 years. I don't care what you believe in, because that doesn't even matter. What do you feel? Do you feel changes in the earth? Do you feel changes in the atmosphere? Do things look different to you? Do the sun look different? Does the moon look different? Okay, and so we don't have to get in all to the metaphysical stuff and have a conversation about that, but anybody with any kind of spiritual discernment can see that something is different today than it was 2 years ago. Okay, so my point is that this whole blaming these ladies continuing to be like this because of some past generations. See, a lot of those past generations that was into that black power stuff, a lot of them was like that because they were segregated. A lot of those women didn't have a choice but to be around these men. Okay, and so they had no choice but to be brainwashed because they were it was segregation. Okay, see, and it harms. Segregation was harmful for black women. Segregation might not be harmful for other cultures, because other cultures, even though misogyny is throughout all cultures, even though you have male chauvinists throughout all cultures, they still build for their nations. And I'm talking about the patriarchs. They still build for their nations. So, you know, it wasn't too much poison psychologically that the women were taking in. It was a lot of emotional abuse. You get that in any nation like the Arabs and, Asians. A lot of women have told me about, stuff they suffered under their patriarchy. But at the same time, um, like I said, you're going to get that from every single patriarchy, okay? But the difference is that those patriarchs still built for their nations, okay? Um, but in this case, segregation pretty much hurt black women pretty badly because they only could take in the ideas and the messages from their group of men. Okay, they didn't hear anybody else's perspective. They did not have the internet, they did not have YouTube, they did not have Facebook, they did not have Twitter. And most importantly, they were segregated. They could not sit anywhere on the bus. They could not just fly anywhere they wanted to fly. So the times were completely different. And to continually blame the way a lot of young ladies are now on these previous generations, I can understand if remnants are still left, okay? There's remnants of that's still left in a lot of us from previous generations. I get that. But at the same time, it's time to be a little, to understand a little bit where those ladies, and I'm not talking about ladies who were in secret societies who knew better but did not care. I'm not talking about those kind of women either. I'm not talking about those kind of women. I'm just talking about regular black women who grew up in those times. I'm not talking about no women who was part of no societies who was, in on keeping the black community down back then. Okay, uh, but I'm talking about just the generation in general. Okay, a lot of those ladies had no choice but to believe what they believe. You can't really. You almost have to get on a time machine, and you need to live at least a month in that during that time period to understand that those ladies did not have options to even hear anybody else's perspective because it was so segregated that they had no choice but to be closed-minded. Okay, but in this day and age, nothing is restricting black women from flying anywhere they want to fly. They can sit anywhere they want to on the bus. There's tons of YouTube videos that have told them time and time and time and time again to expand their options. Okay, time and time and time and time again. So I'm gonna get to the point too. Those ladies did not have that. So I can no longer keep accepting this excuse the way a lot of these ladies are because of some previous generations. Because with the new downloads and the information that is privy, that a lot of black women are privy to nowadays versus the women back then, they are privy to so much information that can no longer be an excuse. Now, it's not to say that, like you said, some of those energies won't be still present, but all of us have to work on getting rid of energy patterns. All of us have to break that generational curse. And how do you break a generational curse? By changing, by recourse, okay? By changing up, changing the energy pattern. If your family has a habit of not leaving a legacy, they don't leave wills, they don't, then you be the one to make the better decision. And guess what? You broke that generational curse. It's not that serious. It's really not that serious. Okay? So, with that being said, let me get to why I say a United States black woman is the only black woman that is this insecure. Because other groups of women around the world have been through a lot too, especially in the continent of Africa. Okay, but for some reason I don't see these ladies, and I look at African women videos a lot. Well, not a lot, but I look at a couple of them. Okay, I've listened to some of their, and I don't see them online fussing about not being desired. Now, don't get me wrong. So some of them do bleach their skin. Okay, but it looks like what they are doing is competing. They are as Kendall St. Charles, and I try not to bring up people's names too much because I know they don't want their names put out there. But just for this one time, because she the only one I ever heard say it. Those women, especially African women, to me seem to be secure in their position. Okay, whether they bleaching their skin, you don't have to agree with that. Whether they wearing all these weaves, because they wear a lot of wigs, okay? Talking about the black American. The African women, they wear a lot of weave, okay? And nothing's wrong with that because they don't care. They're going to do whatever makes them happy. It's almost like they have dark wisdom, more dark wisdom than United States American, the black women in the United States. It's like they have more dark wisdom. Okay. And even in other parts of the world where you have black women, I just don't hear them. And it's colorism all over. Because a lot of those African men, they love white women too. Okay. But I'm going to have to stop this. I'm going to have to do a part two because I only have 10 minutes. But I just don't see these other groups of women with this level of insecurity, worried about somebody not desiring them because they already know to expand their options. Okay, let me do a part two.